This episode is brought to you by Absolute Landscapes. Absolute Landscapes is a landscape maintenance company that focuses heavily on commercial property maintenance. Call today for information about the services we provide and how we can best help you. 803 427 5944.
But man, I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to do this. I know we even on our introductory call we got into some good things, and I feel like we're having a good conversation here. So yeah. So if you want to introduce yourself and just kind of say who you are, what you do, share anything that you might feel is relevant or anything that you want to share, and then we can go from there.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, Cody. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. It's always good to share the message with the world, with the people who are really interested to learn and to invest in themselves. I really like two different kinds of people who listen to podcasts and who read books, because I'm one of them. Because if you are giving time to listen to someone, because you listen to someone so that you get some value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the best of the best are someone who takes the value out of it and go implement it, right? So the listeners are the best people, the podcast listeners. Again, my name is Rafi Shaik. I'm the founder and the transformation coach at Peaceful Advisor Lifestyle Coaching Program. So we help financial advisors who are burnt out, stressed out, or who are stuck in their business, who are not able to take their business to the next level, help them to achieve a 7-figure lifestyle practice and at the same time take 100 days off every single year. So usually what happens is, for business owners, we have life and we have business. We have our business wrapped around, so we have our life wrapped around a business. So we are working so hard for it. And we help financial advisors to do the other way around. So we'll have life in the middle, then we'll have a business wrapped around our life, and make sure that while we are building this business, and have a life in the process and live a life as well. So that's what we teach financial advisors. So we teach everything from marketing, sales, servicing, the whole process. It's exactly the entire business model. We teach them from the beginning to the end, A to Z. So that's what we do in our business, me and my team.
Yeah, that's I like the way you put that, man, because that makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of, I guess, maybe career areas or careers or jobs or whatever, that it seems like that job or that task is like that person's entire life. It consumes so much of their life, especially when, when we're trying to do things ourselves, entrepreneurships or whatever it is, people in the financial space. I mean, it's almost like their entire personality is that career.
Yes.
But what you're saying is, if I'm understanding this correctly, you not only, I'm sure you maybe do it some financial advising yourself, but you teach other financial advisors how to advise people. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. So I was a financial advisor myself. I've been in this industry for almost 2 decades. Then I had a strong calling that I wanted to help other financial advisors achieve what I achieved, because I was doing the same mistakes every other entrepreneur does.
Right.
Bending over backwards for business, chasing every single lead, following up, because that's what the industry teaches you. Fortune is in the follow-up. Like, you got to touch base 10, 20, 30 times. Yes, fortune is in the follow-up. You have to follow up with your prospects, but how?
Right.
I was thinking, okay, you physically have to chase them, right? You have to keep emailing them. You have to keep calling them. That's, in my mind, that's what I was thinking. And that's what I did. And it just felt draining.
Yep.
It just felt like, no, man, this is not right. The person is saying, like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, why I keep chasing this person?
Yeah.
Right. So the whole process of marketing and bringing the people into the funnel and talking to them and converting those people into the paying clients, and solving their problems. So all those things, when I learned it, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars because I wanted to find a solution to all these things. When I found the solution, and built a process around it, that made my life so much easier. Then other financial advisors, they were asking me, dude, like you're always on, doing something, like you're never in the office. In 1 year time frame, I think I went to office 12 times.
Oh, wow.
I counted it literally how many times I actually went to the office. I'm
Yeah.
never in the office. Either I'm out there meeting with people or I'm chilling somewhere. These are the only two things I'm doing. I'm never in
Yep.
the office. So advisors, I started asking, like, you're crushing, man. We see that your numbers. I was generating 7-figure rolling year average revenue. And other advisors were, how are you able to do this? We see your stuff on LinkedIn and you're there and all these things. How are you able to do this? Then when I was talking to other financial advisors, I felt a lot of them are in that rut. They are on that hamster wheel running. They're running so hard. They're pushing the accelerator so hard. They're putting the pedal to the metal, but they're not realizing that they're still in the parking lot.
Yep.
That's when I had that calling. I realized that, okay, like I have to help them. So I sold my practice. So I sold my business to another advisor. Then I embarked on this journey to help full-fledged other financial advisors. So that's how this business came all about. It's a lot of tried and tested strategies and the processes. Yeah, these are the battle tested things, literally tested in the trenches. This is not something somewhere I heard it or I learned it or read it or something like that. So that's what it's all about.
I think that is a very smart move on your part, because not only were you doing, it sounds like you were doing well for yourself in your business, but then you said, okay, I'm going to start a separate business telling people how I do this, and teaching these people how to do it. So that's a very smart move on your part. You mentioned something about these people kind of being almost, I don't want to say relentless, but almost, overly pushy with trying to get these clients. And I've said before, man, one thing that will almost guarantee that I do not do business with somebody is if they just simply cannot take the no, as an answer. And I think just in general sales, I think that's a big issue that a lot of salespeople have is, I've said before, we don't really turn no's into yeses. We turn maybes into yeses, and we turn yeses into sold. But
Yes,
if somebody's just simply not interested in your product or service, man, you're wasting valuable time trying to convert
absolutely.
this person to your company or whatever it is. And that's just what I pick up on when you say that, because I think that's 100% accurate. We spend a lot of time, maybe kind of focused or marketing in the wrong areas. And
True.
I'm sure I'm sure we've all had the person that, emails us or tries to sell us something, and we're like, look, man, I'm just simply not interested at this time, and there's only
True.
so much of that you can do before it actually turns the person away, because if maybe they're not interested now, they could be interested in the future. But if you keep hassling people and harassing them about this thing, they probably will
They're
never be
never
interested.
coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's crazy, man. So what, when you got into the financial advising, you said, I think that was about 2 decades ago or so. I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
Man, there's been a lot of things change over the past couple decades as far as finances go. I mean, like,
True.
now, it's what, 2024. So early 2000s, it sounds like. I mean, there was the 2008 crisis, and then the COVID stuff. I mean, there's been a lot happen over the last couple
Yes.
decades. What did you maybe kind of learn from those times, just those ups and downs of the, whether it was the market? I'm not asking you about your personal, situation, but just the market as you see, just helping people. What was, I know it's kind of obvious to say, oh, there's the housing market and the COVID thing, but like, just in your experience, you just working with people and maybe advising people, what was kind of some of the big things you saw during those times, during those big economic times for people?
The big thing, what I have witnessed is, people say that history repeats, right? In my opinion, history doesn't repeat. It's just the people's behavior around the events it repeats. So what is a market crash? Like people selling stuff in panic. If everyone sells at a single time, that kind of creates that selling pressure, and it cracks. Right? That's what a bursting of a bubble is. So everyone is owning a home and no one wants a home at the same time, so everyone starts dumping. So the other person is selling it for say $100. The other wants to undercut them because they wanted to sell that and get out, so they would sell it for 90. The other one would come and jump ahead of them and they sell it at 80. So you keep selling it, so that's what the price drops looks like. That's, in a nutshell, that's what it is. So in and in itself, there are different events, but people behavior, it doesn't change. What it was 2 decades ago, it was the same behavior. What it is now, it's the same behavior. There's a very good book called Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it, but someone listening, if they really wanted to learn about this, it's a very good book. And in that entire book, he talks about this one thing. It's all in the behavior. Everything is in the behavior. Why I say that? See, you're driving a car. Whether you get involved in an accident or not, that's not in your hands. You could be driving very well. Someone can come and hit you. Right. That's outside of your control. If you think that, okay, like if I get onto the road, I might get killed or someone is going to come and hit me, then you would never be able to get on the road.
Right.
All you can do is take necessary precautions and drive, watchfully. That's the only thing that you could do. A lot of people, when they start a business or invest in the markets or whatnot, that's the biggest mistake they do. Man, if I do this, what if I fail? If I do this, what if I do? Man, it's not about getting involved in an accident. What you going to do after? That's what matters.
Yep.
How are you going to get back on the road?
Yep.
I have seen so many people who got involved in a bad car accidents and they never touched the wheel in their life again. Never. Because the psychological trauma was so severe for them.
Yeah. Well, they say that scared money doesn't make money. If you're scared to invest your money, it's never going to make money, whatever it is. But you touched on something there, man, that I think is a really good point. Excuse me. Warren Buffett is famous for saying that if everybody goes left, go right. If as far as the market is concerned, if everybody's buying, maybe you should sell. If everybody's selling, maybe you should buy. And I think I think it's interesting that you hit on that very same point, because obviously Warren Buffett has something figured out. He's kind of almost, I would say, almost mastered the financial chess game, it seems like. So it's interesting that you guys have the same philosophy on that, because I see that. I mean, you see that if everybody is buying, and maybe it's a wise decision to sell, or if everybody's doing X, maybe it's a good decision to do Y. And so when you offer the real world advice and the real world experience, I think that's fascinating. So what would you give a person? Like, what was kind of I don't really know how to ask this question. Around that time, let's start with the 2008 thing first, and then maybe we'll get to the COVID stuff. But around 2008, I mean, what would you have told someone to do in that situation? Because I was how old was I in 2008? I was 15, I think. Yeah, I think I was 15. So I was kind of really like still young, like too young to understand kind of what was going on. But just how did you see people get out of this thing, man? Like just because I don't really remember exactly what happened, on the major scale, but just like what was some of your solutions, I guess, that you provided these people?
See, at that when chaos hits, Cody, not a lot of people know exactly what to do. That's where they seek for guidance, right? Either you can get carried away with the waves, or you can learn how to sail them. Because you cannot control the direction of the wind, but you can control the direction of your ship, because you are the captain of your ship. In 2008, it was chaos everywhere. Even I personally, because that's when I started, like I was starting out just a few years in the business. And that was my first financial crisis that I ever seen. It was literally blood on the streets. People were selling stuff as if there is no tomorrow. In those kind of times, if you just take one step back, breathe and think about it. Say you had a portfolio or like whatever, you had a house or whatnot. Everyone is selling and you're panicking. Why am I selling this? You ask that question because the mind, because we in our program, we talk a lot about mindset. Our mind works in a way of answering questions. Okay. And our subconscious mind has literally all the answers for our questions in our day-to-day life.
Right.
Whether small, big, complex, simple, every single thing, every single answer under the sun. Because our subconscious mind is connected to the source.
Right.
And the only way how you can get the answers from the subconscious mind is by asking right and intelligent questions. That's what will get you grounded. Say you own a stock. Just give an example. After 2020, tech stocks, everything went up. Then 2022, everything started getting down, like end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, everything started coming down. And one point of time, Meta, Facebook, was, I think, $100 or something like that. Right now, it is at $400, give or take. If you are at $100, like you're looking at Facebook and you're someone who holds Facebook stock in your portfolio, wow. And you look at the markets and you see your portfolio is down, say, 50%. When you hit that sell button, the number one question you need to say, like, why am I selling this? Do I need this money? Is it my internal situation that I'm selling this portfolio, or am I being swayed by the outside events? Because anyone who uses Facebook for business, they know how powerful Facebook is. If you have run Facebook ads or Instagram ads, you know how powerful Facebook is.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think that Facebook is going to go out of business anytime soon, I don't know what else to say to you.
Right.
Because I'm someone who uses social media for business and I run ads and all these things. And when Facebook, like the stock tanks, I'm actually happy. I'm elated. I'm actually elated because I can go scoop that stuff and buy more into it. So coming back to the question, what was happening in 2008? When these things were happening, and I was new too at that point of time, and I was learning different things. And I'm a very avid reader. I used to read a lot of books. I still read. And every single book mentioned the same thing. And there was some book, I don't remember, it talks about all the great financial crisis in the world since like 1927, the Great Depression and everything. So the world has weathered all of this. The markets have remained the same. People have come and gone. And the one thing that impacts your investment or your overall wealth is your behavior. Do you know on average, for a lottery winner, it takes 7 to 8 years to go broke?
I would
Everyone
100%
talks about, I
believe
wanted
that.
to win the lottery. I wanted to win the lottery. Dude, no. Because even you win the lottery, in the next 7 to 8 years, you'll be back to zero. Because on average, that's what's going to happen. It is not about the money. It's about the mindset. Because even if you have a $2 million in your bank account, if your operating system, if your software is outdated, if you're still thinking the trailer park mentality, you're still stuck in the trailer park, dude.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how many millions you have in your bank account because your hardware is not matching your software. Imagine you have iPhone 14 and you're running it on iOS 5. Does it work? It doesn't work. Because it doesn't matter how latest of a hardware you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you approach your wealth with the wrong mindset, you will get back to where you were before, because your software has to match your hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
that's what I teach entrepreneurs. I tell them, upgrade your software. Hardware will come. Don't worry about the hardware. Don't worry about the money. You will attract money. Become the person who can handle that wealth.
Yep.
I was talking to another advisor who was like, I'm running ads, I'm getting this. I want more clients. And I'm like, dude, you don't want more clients. He was like, Rafi, like, I want more clients, man. No, dude, you don't. John, why you don't want more clients is because you're not prepared. You cannot handle more clients.
Mm-hmm.
If the same advisor, if I send him 5 clients in the same day, hey, do 5 meetings in the same day, at the end of the day, he'll complain, man, I had a long day. It's too much. Oh, what were you complaining about?
Yep.
Right? So the more is not the answer. The better is better. And how you get better? By making yourself ready to receive that.
Mm-hmm.
You should be on that receiving level. If you're not on that receiving level, because everyone wants to get rich,
Yep.
everyone wants to build that dream business. Of course, we all want to do that. But are you ready? What are you doing to get ready? Everyone wants a 6-pack ab. Everyone wants to get in better shape.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to put in the effort to go to the gym, hire a personal trainer, do all those things? Right? So that's what I say. Like, you want something, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself first. That's the reason why people go into the marriages and get cold feet and draw back at the very last moment. Why is that? They are
Yep.
not prepared. It's not about getting on your knees and offering a ring. It doesn't, the buck doesn't stop there.
Right.
It's
Man,
about what's going to happen later.
I love this because everything that you're saying right here is first of all something that I agree with. Second of all, is something similar to what I've said before. But I love going back to the reaction to the 2008 thing. I love this because what we're talking about here is we're talking about basically your reaction to the market. Is kind of determines where you go. And this is almost, if you take those words, it's almost like a metaphor for life, because your reaction to the market around you, it sounds so simple, but it influences how your life plays out. And
True.
I love this analogy that you have about the software and the hardware situation, because that's 100% true. Because, when it comes to things like core beliefs and how you believe about yourself, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, all these things, it's like a limit on where you can get.
Yes.
Like people say, like you hit the nail on the head. I want to win the lottery. It's like, but okay, are you the person who can handle that kind of money? Like you've never seen more than $5,000 in your bank account at one time. Can
True.
you handle $50 million? Like this is a huge jump, man. And this is one thing that I say, like, why it's so important to experience the process of whatever it is. A person who builds wealth, and I mean, you can speak on this easier than I can, but a person who builds wealth, it's probably going to be easier for that person to hang on to that wealth versus a person who just gets it handed to them or whatever. But this is that's why I preach so hard on the process, man, because you have to become the person who can handle whatever it is, the money, the goal, the career, the marriage, whatever it is. You have to become the person who can do this. And so yeah, I love your analogy here, but also too, I just want to reemphasize the point that the reaction to the marketplace around you, whether that's your life, your career, your marriage, your friendships, whatever, the way you react to those things can determine which direction it's going to go for you. Because
Yeah.
I mean, panic in zero situations, panic is probably going to help anything. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe if you hear like these stories about how 3 or 4 people grouped together and like picked up the front side of a car or something to help somebody out. I mean, those situations are a little bit different, but like how often is that really going to happen? Like panic, if you can't think out into a situation and if you can't clearly see like what you need to do next, I think that's one of the things that hurt us a lot, man. I mean, you saw this with COVID, like panic, like people, I think the idea was to not cause panic, but then you still saw a lot of panic. You still saw a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, a lot of people, worried about this and that and how they're going to pay their bills and this kind of thing. But it's like at the end of the day, man, if you can't logically think about your next move and about where you're going and about what you need to do right now, if you're not grounded about where you are right now, then you can't get out of the situation. But I mean, I love the way you put that, because you have to know, you have to be able to see where you're at and where you want to go and what's going on now and what is and is not inside of your control. I think that's a big one, because that can be overwhelming.
Yes, absolutely. That's the reason when I talk to some of the entrepreneurs, the advisors I talk to, they are really successful. Some of them are already generating like 7-figure revenue. And they're not quite able to figure out what is it that they don't get it. Meaning they're feeling unfulfilled inside. You know, man, I thought everyone said that, okay, like you build a 7-figure business, you should be fine. They have a 7-figure business, they're still not happy.
Yep.
You know, because we are all being trained or programmed in a such a way. Okay, you go to school for a certain age, then you graduate, then you get a job, then you work your butt off, then you find a person and you get married, settle down, then buy a house, car, and all those things, and then have kids, then do all these things, then retire and die one day. This is the programming which is ingrained for generations, literally for generations. And all it takes is asking one intelligent question: what is this all for? And in my life, it came very hard, because life has a very interesting way of teaching things to you.
Oh yeah.
Either you can learn by design or you can learn by force. And for me, I didn't learn by design, so I was forced to learn these things.
Yep.
So a lot of things happened with me, because I did not stumble upon a 7-figure lifestyle practice where I was taking time off, spending time and doing all these things. I was in the deepest and the darkest places before I found my way out. And luckily, I had people around me. I was associated with those kind of people and the groups and all these things who helped me see that clearly. You were just talking about when you are in that chaos, in that panic, it's very hard to see. That's why I say that you need someone outside to look at it and let you know, dude, this is what's going on with you. Imagine you're going in a flight 30,000 foot above sea level, and you are in a plane, and the plane is going at, I don't know, 1,000 miles an hour. You don't feel it because you're inside the plane. Imagine someone is on the ground and they're looking at the plane that you're going in, up in the sky. They see how fast you're traveling. They see how fast, slow, whatever the direction you're going. You don't know because you're inside the plane. That is why I always say that get someone who's outside, who can guide you, who can give you an objective advice. You're running on the treadmill. You're thinking you're running. You're still there. You're still in your basement, dude. You're running.
Right.
You're not going anywhere. But the person who's on the outside, they can see that. You're running, but you're still running. You're in the same spot, still in the same 6 feet.
Yep.
So that is the reason having a person, a mentor or a coach or a guide or someone who you can lean on. It does not matter what level you are at. It does not matter how successful you are. You need a person who's outside, who can give you that perspective, who can give you that advice, that guidance. So all these great people, you take Tiger Woods, Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt. These are the people who are at the top of the game. Like, they have reached the pinnacle, the pinnacle. There's no one above them. They have, and they still have coaches. They still have mentors. They still have trainers. Why is that? I come across some entrepreneurs, advisors. I'm good. I can run this business. I don't need help. Yeah, great. You don't need help only to a certain extent. But if you really wanted to take your game to your next level, you need expert guidance. You need a coach. You need a mentor. You need someone who can take you to that next level, because you cannot see where you are because you are inside it. You're inside the plane. You cannot see yourself going at a speed of 1,500 miles or 1,000 miles an hour. You
Yep.
need someone outside. So that's the reason having someone in your corner whom you can lean on is very, very important, especially if you are in any situation and you wanted to get better at it. It does not matter whether it could be a relationship. You wanted to work on your relationship. Hire a relationship coach. Your marriage is on the rocks, or you think you could do better in your marriage. Hire a marriage coach. Your finances are in the rut, or you're already doing good, but you want someone who can help you with the money. Get a money coach. Your health is you're good, but you want to still get better. Hire a fitness coach. Hire people. There are people out there in the world who have done that, who have been there in your situation, and they have ran that marathon probably 100 times. And you are prepping for the marathon, or maybe you ran one or two and you wanted to get better. You wanted to get your timing better. So hire a coach who can help you with that marathon. So focusing on that, it actually shortcuts. In my life, I was generating six figures and mid six figures for a long time, and I was stuck in there. The minute I got help, it did not take more than a year for me to turn it, and I leaped into seven figures, and there was no looking back for me. And I was one of the top advisors in the country. I was one of the top wealth advisors in the entire country,
Right.
and
I think
all happened with that help.
I think, man, the ability to be coached and trained, that's almost like a talent. Because it takes a lot of humility to look at a situation and say, you know what, I might need, especially, and I get it. Like if you're working, if you own a business, or if you're doing this thing, you put a lot of work into this thing. But again, talking about a limit here, you are going to limit yourself if you can't have the humility enough to approach another person and say, listen, you are at another level that I'm not at. I would like to be at this level one day. There might be something I can learn from you. And it's like you can't do all these things yourself. I know we as business owners, entrepreneurs, we think that we can, but it's like, first of all, if you can find somebody, whether you hire them or they mentor you, or you're in a friendship with them, whatever it is, if they can help you out, that might free up a lot of your time and resources to do the things that you are actually good at. But it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a lack of humility. This is one thing I was going to ask you. I don't know if it's a lack of humility or what it is that get this. It's like, it's so tough sometimes for us to take advice, or put ourselves out there and say, hey, I need help in this area. It's almost is like a talent to be coached, the ability to see that you need to be coached and trained. So what are in just your expertise and your experience, what are some issues that you see that's kind of holding some of us back? I mean, these entrepreneurs or whatever it is. I know it's easy to say, well, people don't manage finances well, but that can mean a lot of different things. Like just specifically like characteristics, whether it's arrogance, or the lack of humility, or just wanting to do everything themselves. I mean, what do you see kind of in your line of work that's holding a lot of us back?
That's a great question. Actually, I come across a lot, and even in my career as an advisor, financial advisor, I had the opportunity to meet with so many people, and there are successful people with money, successful people without money, unsuccessful people with money, unsuccessful people without money.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen every kind out there. And most of the times, what I have seen is, you touched a very great point, is the humility. I've been doing things this way for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need help. It's reinforcing your belief system. You talked about the belief system, and we talk about a lot as well in our program, because I always say that if you wanted to learn one thing and you wanted to get better, it's your wealth, it's your health, and your relationships.
Yep.
The one thing you need to turn around is your mindset. If you get your mindset dialed in and open to receive, then your life would be at a very different level. You can't even imagine how better your life could be, because you can look at that only in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you wouldn't know how better it could be where you are standing right now. You have to be there to kind of look back. Oh man, that's where I was like a year ago. That's where I was like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We teach that in our program like all the time, and we also talk to financial advisors about this and say that you do the same thing for your clients. You always take them back where they were before and show the comparison. Say you start at mile zero, you won't know if there are no milestones how long you walked. Right? Say if your goal is to go to Los Angeles and you're driving, unless and until you see that board, okay, 58 kilometers, 28 kilometers, 18 kilometers, you don't know how many kilometers you walked. Right? So reinforcing where you were and where you wanted to go, or where you are right now, that's a very powerful. Like I said, the one big thing, if you ask me, Rafi, like what made you to get into this realm and what made you successful, the one thing I'll attribute is changing my mindset around things. And I read a very good book called The Principles by Ray Dalio, and he talks about the one line. It's a very big book, and one line stuck out for me was, always question your assumptions. Man, that line literally changed my life. That one single sentence just changed my life. Since then, I started asking questions. I started questioning every single assumption because I knew my brain would answer, my subconscious mind would answer and manifest things if I ask better questions. And I didn't know how to ask. And for me, the starting point to ask these kind of questions was question my assumptions. My clients will not like it. And I'm like, okay, why is that they don't like it? Let me try this. Then busted. That myth got busted. And I tried this in every single aspect of my life. I always think, okay, my kids won't like this. Then I'm like, why am I with this assumption? Okay, let's test this assumption. I would do that, or I would give that to them and they would love it. That myth got busted. Then after I saw a few patterns about these things, then I started doing it. Like if you go on to my business, like right now with this coaching business, if you look at my website, the website has like 2-3 tabs. There is nothing on the website. And in my mind, it was like, man, you need to have a great website. Like you need to have a great this, you need to have a great that for clients to come to you. No, you don't need that. And I tested that assumption and the myth got busted. So that's the reason, like any assumption I have right now, I test it. I put that to rigorous test to find out whether that assumption is a truth or it's just a false limiting belief.
Well, I get that, man. And I like that. And I think that's good advice. But I think the problem with that people have is like knowing where you start and then knowing how far you're going. That makes it real, and that makes the parameters or the possibility for success or failure rather much more defined. Because if we know where we're at and if we know where we're going, yes, that's clear and we need that. But I think a lot of people would hear that and feel like, oh, well, they don't want to be afraid that they're not hitting their goals or that they're failing, or, sometimes it's easier for us to just be oblivious if we're not doing what we're supposed to do. And of course, that sort of mentality is never going to get us where we could be one day. But I agree with that, though. I agree with that. I think you have to have a starting point. You have to know where you are. I mean, I'm all for goals. I think some people, when they hear some of the things I say, they think I'm against goals. I'm not against goals. I think goals are a really good thing to have. But if you don't have a starting point, and if you don't have milestones or goals along the way, you're just kind of moving aimlessly. There's no direction. You're just kind of going towards a thing, and you can't. I love the way you put this. You can't look back and see where you come from, how far how far you've come, how far along the path you are. And so I don't know how else it would work if you can't measure your progress. But like I said, the issue is, I think that when people hear that, that makes the failure much more obvious if they don't hit these things. It makes it real, and it makes it, there's a lot of, I don't want to use the word pressure, but it makes it more of a concrete thing if you don't hit these goals and where you want to be at.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Cody. See, that's the reason why there are successful and ultra successful people,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what differentiates. If someone is stuck in their old patterns and, okay, I don't need help, I don't want to do this, or see, you either accept humility and
Mm-hmm.
become humble yourself, or life has a way, or your business has a way of humbling you.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like I said, only two things happen: either you do it by design or you do it by force.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to take it by force, my friend, that road is so painful and it takes so much time. You don't have to.
Yep.
You can just take it by design. That's why I said at the beginning of this podcast, the best people are the ones like who invest in themselves and who listen to the podcast and who read books. Because they're investing in themselves. They have that mindset. Man, I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow. You can take the horse to the water, you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
Right? Like, say you're doing this podcast, you can reach only to the person who can tune into this podcast. Like, there are a million other podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So we as entrepreneurs, we can take our message only to the person who's willing to receive that message.
Yep.
We cannot take someone, say you're Alex Harmozy, or someone like who puts on a great gym, okay, and you sign up a client. You can send a car for the client to be picked up from their house, bring them up to the gym, okay, get them all ready and put them on the treadmill. They still have to do the reps, they still have
Yep.
to walk it, they still have to lift the weights, they still have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
The gym or the trainer, they're not going to do it for them, right? We can only facilitate that message, and the person who's willing to receive. When I talk to people like who are successful or who are in their field, like, who are at the top of the game, I always ask them, what was that inflection point? Every single time I've heard the same thing: when I shifted my beliefs and I kind of got out of the pattern of my old thinking habits.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a quote, I don't know by whom it is. It summarizes: you will get the same results if you've always been doing what you have always been doing.
Yep.
If you want different results, do different actions. And the action starts with different thinking, because that's the seed.
Mm-hmm.
If you change your thinking and impact your actions, then your results will be taken care. So that's why I focus so much on changing the mindset, working on the mindset. But if someone is not willing to take it, then, that's the reason why they are. Sometimes I come across advisors over the phone, like, when we do our breakthrough calls, and they say that, no, I've been doing this. I tried that. It did not work. I'm like, how many times did you try? I tried that one time, like 8 years ago. That's your limiting belief. You did not try that hard enough, and you did not try that long enough. So just give you an
Yep.
example. I had an advisor who ran Facebook ads, ran the ad for 1 week. Just 1 week, 7 days. We started on Monday and ended on Sunday. For 7 days, spent probably 1,000 or so, and got 3 leads out of it. Man, I spent this much money and it was a week. Dude, you got to give time. You got to be patient with these things, because we are
Mm-hmm.
collecting the data from these ads. We are doing our market research. We wanted to make sure that this ad is resonating with the clients, with the prospects, with your ideal target market that we are looking for. Then we're going to test it, we're going to tweak it, then we're going to repeat it. This process takes time. Say if you're a podcaster who are planning to launch the podcast and monetize it, you know that the minute you launch your first episode, you don't get clients.
Yep.
It takes time. It takes time. And if you say that, man, I did like 4 episodes and I got like 3 downloads, well, that's where it is. It's the consistency. And those are the people who actually get the help. They know, because it comes from questioning your assumptions. Sometimes, like deep inside, what to be done. Man, I know this works, but I'm not able to figure out. That's when people seek out help. Some people are convinced right out. They know, okay, like no matter what I work, no matter what I do, I can get in better shape. No matter what I do, I can get in a better relationship. No matter what I do, I can build a better business or a better wealth or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're already convinced, then who am I to say no to that?
Yeah, you're not going to change their mind if they have their mind made up, man. You're not going to be. You can't. And
Right?
this is why, like, I don't understand this because I don't understand this thought process because. No, look, I promise you, nobody is going to come along and fix your life for you. I mean, you can have mentors and you can have coaches, but that's a completely different thing. Nobody is going to do the work for you. And so,
Absolutely.
if a person claims that they want to improve, that this is why I have like a very low threshold tolerance for complaining. You know, for people who, and I don't mean one complaint if something's like, if it actually is deserves a complaint. I mean, if these people who like continuously complain about the same thing over and over, because it's like, if this really bothered you, if you really wanted to change this, you would do something to try to change this. Because,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, like you'll see people talk about the same thing over and over, and it's like they're not doing anything to change the situation. But I don't understand this thought process because if you sit around and wait for somebody to come and fix your life for you, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you, it's not. But like
No one can do that. Actually, no one can fix it.
but it's like it puts the power that you have for yourself into the hands of other people.
Yes.
And you know, I'm not one of these people. I think most people are good. You know, I think most people are good. I think most people have good intentions. But it takes the power away from you to change your own life and put it into the hands of somebody else. You know, I'm sure you've heard before. If how does the quote go? Something along the lines of, "If you don't build your own dream, you'll help somebody building theirs," or something like that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's like, you know, and what is the alternative if you cannot have the humility enough, if you can't be humble enough, and have the wisdom enough to know that you have to change your own life, you have to change things. What's the alternative? You're going to be in the same spot, you know, 5, 10, 20 years later.
Yeah.
I just don't get it, man. I just don't see how. I think one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life is knowing that there is nobody who's coming to save you. There's nobody who's coming to make the hard decisions for you. You know,
Yes.
yes, I can reach out to people and I can try to learn things and I can, you know, hire coaches, but that's a whole different thing because when you once you get to that point, you have to make your mind up that you
Yes.
actually want to change the thing, whatever it is. Because if not, I mean, if you don't have your mind made up that you want to change things and you're hiring people, coaches, and that kind of thing, you're just kind of wasting your money. I feel like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's not
I
gonna
mean,
help.
you have to make up your mind, I think, before you get to that point. And that's why people, I think sometimes when people talk to me, they assume I'm a coach or whatever. I'm not. I think there's people who are better fit for that, or maybe not better fit, but you know, who's sort of that's their purpose, that's their thing. I don't feel like that's my thing, but man, I feel like I would be so frustrated if I was a coach because, you know, most of the people probably made their mind up, and that's okay. But you know, you have that 1 or 2% that's just like they want you kind of to do it for them, and that's man, I can't. I just can't imagine, you know, being in that mentality.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do here is get to those people and say, listen, this is not going to happen by chance. It's not going to happen by luck. Like you have to do, if you're there with me and you meet me halfway, that'll work. But you can't do everything for these people.
Yes.
Like that, like if you don't want to change, like you said it yourself, if you do the same thing and you expect different results, it's not going to happen.
No, it's never gonna happen. Like we also teach the same to the financial advisors when they are looking for clients. Just don't
Mm-hmm.
take anyone and everyone as a client. Then they're gonna ruin your mental capacity because
Yep.
everyone has only a certain mental bandwidth.
Yep.
You can handle only certain, right? For some people it's a little, for some people it's a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see, like at the beginning of the podcast, you talked about the opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? If you don't do this, what is that result? Right? And in our practice, like in our business, you talked about the threshold. We do the same thing. We do ruthless qualification. We don't take anyone and everyone. We don't run like mass webinars to enroll people into our program. Every single advisor come into our program through a breakthrough call. They have to come through a breakthrough call. That breakthrough call is about 60 minutes, about an hour. And we drill down into their business, into their attitudes, into everything. And unless and until I am 100% convinced that this person has a problem, this person is willing to fix it, and I'm able to help that person fix it.
Mhm.
If I'm not sure about these three things, then I'm not taking that person as a client, because no matter what. So what happens is the downside, because I always look at it in this way. Say I take this person, that person pays me money and comes on board. They do the program and they don't put in their effort because they're not serious about it. Then they go outside and tell other 10 other people and say that, man, I took that person's program and it did not work out for me.
Mhm.
Like, why would I ruin my name and brand, which I'm working so hard to build it?
Yep.
Right? So that's the reason I always say that only three qualities matter. If you wanted to work with me, you wanted to be highly coachable, you wanted to be highly decisive and action taker, and you wanted to be highly resourceful. If you fit all these three, the rest will all fall in place. We'll hire you. We'll get you on board, and we'll start working with you.
Mhm.
That's our motto. And when you as an entrepreneur, when you start doing this, then you don't get all those people who kind of complain and who do this, because they know that they made that commitment.
Mhm.
My job is to just bring them to the truth, help them identify this is the problem that they have, and this is what's going to happen if they don't fix that problem, if they stay stuck. I always say that you have been doing this business for 10 years. If your way is not working, why not try someone else's way,
Yep.
some other way, see if their works for you. And I try that only if I'm 100% convinced that this person can take our help and can benefit from our help. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Because money could be made, and I always say this: you wanted to make money by doing what you love and with the people whom you love with.
Mhm.
Right? Those are the only two things matter. Then you can do it for a longer period of time. It's
Yep.
not a short stint that you, as you know, a lot of entrepreneurs come into the business in the first 2, 3, 4 years, they're out of business. They
Mhm.
can't sustain. Why? Because they don't know their why. Why are they in the business in the first place?
Exactly. That's very wise of you to do that, man. And it sounds like it maybe it almost sounds selfish or like cold hearted or whatever. But like, here's the thing: you mentioned about the mental bandwidth, and that's 100% true. You only have so much mental bandwidth, and let's say you have 20, let's say you have 19 other clients who are really wanting to make changes and do this thing, but then you have this one person who's not. Well, you have an obligation to the other 19 to really show up and be there for them because they actually want to make the changes. And then you get this one person that's sort of draining you and taking away mental bandwidth from the whole 20, and it's not fair to the other 19. So that's just kind of how you have to do it. But I think that's very wise of you. I think that's a very wise way to do that.
Yes. And there is an opportunity cost to this too, Cody. Because, say, if I'm in front of a prospect that I'm talking, say I'm in a service-based business where, I wanted to enroll someone into the program or something like that. I want them to hire me as a person to help them. If I am not focused on qualifying them, because
Mhm.
I'm focused first 20 minutes, I'll know whether I should be on this call or not. The first 20 minutes, I would know.
Mhm.
After 20-minute mark, I would say, hey, you know what? I think I can help you. If not, let's part parents. Let's just go on our separate ways. That's good for
Mhm.
you and good for me. Because if I spend an hour and a half, or 2 hours following up with this person and doing all those things, there is a missed opportunity. There's an opportunity cost, because I could be spending that same time with
Mhm.
someone else who needs my help desperately, who's banging their head against the wall, trying to figure out how to level up their game, how to take their business to the next level, how to serve their clients in a more impactful way.
Yep.
That's the cost. That's how I always look at, man, like, why am I wasting time with this person? Because this person is not willing to receive the help. They're not able to see clearly what the problem is. If they are stuck in their own ways, what the impact could be. Why am I wasting my time where I could
Mhm.
be using that same time? That's when, like, you get quality people into your business. They are the best people to work with. They pay you on time, they don't complain, and on top of that, they go tell 10 other people.
Right.
They go tell 10 other people, man, I hired this person, like, this person helped me fix like all these issues in my business, and I'm making the money I'm making, I'm taking the time off, I'm spending time with my loved ones, I'm doing all these amazing things because I was working with this person. And this is like free publicity, free ad for you, just running around.
Oh yeah,
you know
for sure.
so that's my take on that, like wasting time on unqualified uh, prospects.
Rafi, I love what we're talking about here. Let me do this really quick. Let me stop this video just for a second. Right, so we were talking about some of the things that kind of hold people back. I think we kind of pinpointed that like this humility thing was something that really holds people back. When people come to a financial advisor, I'm assuming one of the big problems they have is probably a spending problem. There's overspending. What do you think is it like? What is it that kind of contributes to this spending situation? I mean, people just, I don't know. I don't want to assume, but like, what is the main, I guess, maybe characteristics that kind of lead to the overspending thing? Are people just kind of, thinking too much into the future? Are they just mismanaging their funds? I mean, what's going on there?
A lot of money, habits, they're all part of the belief system.
Okay.
And unfortunately, most of our beliefs have been formed before the age of 7. That's one downside to it. And almost 99% of our beliefs have been formed before the age of 35. So a big chunk of that depends on your beliefs. And the second thing, what I've seen people with the spending is they don't have a plan and the process. Those are the only two things. So just give you an example. Someone who grew up having no money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, say you grew up broke, you always were looking for change, in the kitchen space, in couch spaces to go to grab those pennies or quarters or whatnot, so that you can run and go buy stuff and all these things. So if that's what your background is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and now you grow up with that, you don't even think about it. But now you graduate, or you're an adult and you start making money. Now you have that money. The one thing you wanted to do is you wanted to splurge it. You wanted to just spend it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a flip side to that. If that belief system, when you were growing up, you did not had money, some people, they don't want it to spend it. They wanted to safeguard it. They wanted to keep it. They wanted to hoard it.
Right.
So it all boils down to your belief system. And it is very hard for someone to kind of think, why is there I'm spending? Some people say that, man, like I've seen like 7-figure business owners. They make 7 figures, but they never have money. They never have money. I kid you not. They never have money. So when I go back and dig deeper and kind of look at their whole history, and we talk about their childhood, and every single time I wanted to prove myself wrong, but every single time I stand corrected with that it's the belief system. If their belief is ingrained in such a way that either I wanted to spend it or I wanted to hoard it, that's because of that. And the second thing is, say, okay, you identified the belief, man, I grew up with this, or I grew up with money. The other side to it is, I grew up with money. Some people, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are so used to spending that money. So when they get that money, they just spend it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to save it. And for those kind of people, of course, there is a belief system, but they don't have a plan. They don't have a process. So we always talk about the 50, 30, 20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you make, 50% spend it, for your regular day-to-day expenses. Make sure your day-to-day expenses they fit in that 50% of your earnings.
Mm-hmm.
And 30% you do spend it on your future. Say you wanted to plan for a vacation, or like whatever you wanted to do, and that 20% is for the long-term savings, for retirement, or like whatnot. So 50, 30, 20 rule. See, if you have a plan in place, then you know, okay, you got a paycheck. Say you get a $10,000 paycheck, you take $5,000 and you spend it. And you take another $3,000 and you save it for a vacation fund, or you wanted to buy a new house, or like whatever it's going to be the near term savings goal. And the 20% is going to go into your retirement funds, whether it could be a 401k or Roth or like whatever it's going to be. So if you have a plan and if you stick to a plan, because that's very important as well, sticking to a plan, I call it remove the hurdles in following your plan. What do I mean by that? Say you wanted to go to the gym. Your goal is you wanted to get in better shape and you wanted to go, say, 4 days to the gym in the morning, 5 a.m. And you're having hard time. Okay. So make sure you have an alarm not right next to you, at least 10 feet away from you. And put that on a very loud sound, which forces you to wake up. For most of the people, if they wake up for the first 30 seconds, if they are truly awake, then it's very hard for them to go back to sleep. Put your gym bag, your shoes, and everything right next to your bed. When you wake up, that's what the first thing you wanted to do. You put your shoes, you grab your gym bag and the bottle and everything, then have your keys right next to you and go. The other example is, say you wanted to get better at reading. You wanted to read. And you wanted to read before you go to bed. Like, you're lying down in your bed and that's when you wanted to read. And that's one of your goals. Once you wake up in the morning, once you make your bed, place a book right on your pillow. When you come back, you have your book staring at you. Just read one page. It doesn't matter. Just one single page every single day. But read. That will get you in the habit. So creating a process and removing these hurdles in the process will get you better at that process. So if someone has a spending habit, identify your beliefs. Like, why is that I'm spending? Why is that I don't have money? Like I said, your subconscious mind has all the answers. You don't need someone else to tell you the answers. Your subconscious mind will tell you the answers. But you should know what questions to ask. Ask intelligent questions. Don't ask stupid questions. Ask intelligent questions. If you ask intelligent questions, provoking questions, I'm sure you'll get the answers. And you'll get the answers for your spending, for your saving, for your hoarding, whatever your habits are. You will get to it. But majority of it is the belief system. We call it money scripts. Like, what is the story what is the script that is running in your mind? Right. The back of your mind. Right? You can do all these things. Say, you can put a cap on your credit card. Say, if someone has an issue with going on a credit card debt, put a cap on the credit card. Get a credit card with a lower limit. Or put an automatic payment on the credit card. Whenever the payment comes in, and it's gonna pay in full at the end of every month. It goes into your debit account so that you're not carrying that debt. So put these things in your process, which will force you. So once you train your brain in such a way, then it becomes habits. There is a really great book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm not sure if you read it. I learned so much from that book. It's one of my favorite books. And we recommend that in our program as well. It's one of my favorite books. And there are so many good nuggets in that book. Even if you take 1, 2, or even 3 things from that book and implement it, man, your life will never be the same. Because we are all creatures of habit. If we build those habits, like if you have a spending habit, then you will be in that habit. Because we humans, we like it. Right. We like to be the creatures of our habit because that's what our innate nature is. If you train yourself as a saver, then you'll save it. It's all about habits, right? So you build those habits.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense, man. And I think when people hear that they need to have a financial plan, whatever that plan is, whether it's 50, 30, 20, whatever it is, I think when people hear that, I think most people would agree with that. Maybe they don't know what the plan is, but now they do know a general plan they can start with. But I think an issue that we don't really think about as much is the mindset and the beliefs that go into it. Because I've heard something similar to this before but when you said this, it's really like shocking how obvious it is. Because you look at somebody and if they come from a background of where there's very little money or where there's a lot of money, it seems like both people on both ends of the spectrum seem to spend money very quickly. But then if you look for somebody who's baby, and this is something I talked about too before, we are not really educated, I feel like, on money the way we should be in our childhood. Most homes, most parents don't talk to their teenagers and early adult children about money. It's just like a taboo topic almost. People just kind of stay away from money. But I feel like if we had a conversation about it, and if families had conversation about money, and there was just financial education in the home, maybe these things would be different. But no, it's very easy. I mean, it is kind of obvious once you think about it to think about how your beliefs affect the way you see and handle and spend or earn or don't earn money. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of times you'll see one thing that I see just kind of from analyzing and talking to people, you'll see a lot of times confidence is linked to making money. Like a lot of especially confident salespeople, people who can talk to people and have, that they seem to do well with money. Now, how they're spending it, how they're saving it, that you don't know, but at least they're making. You can see that they're making it.
Yes.
You see people like, well, Elon Musk is kind of a unique example because he kind of hit something that really took off, but like just his determination and his willpower and like the way he's using whatever that ability and that talent is for that willpower, he's using that to progress. It's not, I'm sure he spends money on himself, but it's like every time he makes a huge chunk of money, he puts that into another thing to make something else big. And then he just kind of keeps doing that.
Yeah.
But like that does make a lot of sense because you see the beliefs that people have, you see how that affects their financial life. And when you said that just now, it's like a light bulb that just went off. Like, because that makes a lot of sense, man. And this is going back to the core belief thing. If you believe or don't believe that you're worthy of a thing, if you believe or don't believe that you're capable of a thing, if you believe or don't believe that you can earn more money or make more money, when your money comes in and it seems like it's a limited, valuable thing, the way you think about those things is going to change how you see it or how you spend it or how you save it. And I mean, now that we're saying that makes so much sense. So is it a fair assumption to say that when you see people with this issue, you try to help them with these core beliefs, with what they think? I mean, would that be a fair way to try to solve this issue with mismanaging money?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I always say that like it comes back. I sound like a broken record. It all comes back to the same thing. What is your mindset? And comes to questioning your assumptions. You're spending money. Just sit back and think about it. Why is this I'm spending this money?
Mm-hmm.
And you go back deep enough. It's like peeling the layers of the onion. You peel and you peel and you peel until you get it. Because the beauty of this process is, Cody, once you do this, once you see this, you cannot unsee this, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say that this exercise is worth doing it. You sit back and you think about all these things. You ask these questions. And I've done these exercises with entrepreneurs and a lot of other people. I say that ask these intelligent questions, write them on the paper and go to bed. Before you go to bed, write these questions. Why am I spending like this? Why is that I cannot control, my gambling habits? Why is that I cannot control any of these things? Because some people are crazy about shoes. We have a running joke in financial advisor space that people who spend on shoes won't have anything in retirement to run for. So, so it's so people who spend on shoes, who spend on clothes, I don't know, like whatever the fancy, gadgets, watches, or cars, and all these things. Like everyone has their own thing. So why is that you spend it? If you go back deeper, and I can guarantee you, 99% of the time, it is linked to your childhood. It could be your caretaker. It could be your parents, your school, like whatever. It could be one of your caretaker. It stems from them. Whatever they have been saying, because you have been programming your mind. Because before age 7, Cody, the mind is like clean slate.
Right.
That is why we are very cognizant what we say to our kids when it comes to money, because they ask us, right? So daddy, why is that we can't buy this? Why is that we can't do this or do that? Instead of saying, oh, we don't have money or we don't want to do this or that, we are very cognizant. So we take that opportunity to actually tell them, because we are basically programming them. We are writing a code. When they grow up, this is what they're going to base it on, whether you know it or don't know it, whether you agree or whether you believe or you don't believe it. It doesn't matter. It's going to do its thing. This is how it is programmed. I still remember my mother telling me when I was a kid, she used to tell me, you have to stretch your legs as far as your blanket goes, because if you stretch more, you'll rip your blanket. She has a way of saying it, but in a nutshell, that's what her thing was. And I was very fortunate enough, I never took that as a programming. And at the age of probably 10 or 11, I started questioning her. I started telling her, Mom, how would I know my blanket is bigger if I don't stretch my legs? You are looking at the same problem from a scarcity, and I'm looking at the same problem from an abundance mindset. Because it's the belief system. Some people, if you say your bank account is the sum of your belief system since birth until now, go do the math. Come back and let me know. Any of you who are listening, wherever you are in your life, you're 35, 45, 55, 60, whatever it is, you go back since you were started making money, from then until now, you take all of that money and you average the number of years. That's what you will see in your bank account. And whatever you're making is tied to your belief system. Some people believe that, oh, money is evil. Money is not good for you. That's a belief system. And sometimes people ask me, Rafi, I have these beliefs, because without beliefs, we how can we function in the society? How can we live life? Don't get me wrong, we need beliefs. But it all depends on whether your belief is empowering belief or disempowering belief.
Yep.
Anything which is limiting you, which is disempowering you, you wanted to make sure you wanted to address that and get rid of it. And all you'll be left is the empowering beliefs. If you believe that I never grew up with money, I will never have money, because this is what I used to say to myself, because growing up, it was very hard for me. I had no money, had to walk to school without shoes, lots of stuff. I used to always say that. And for me, the zeal was, man, I wanted to make crap load of money. That was my only goal. And I started making money. Then I realized, man, that was not the end goal. What am I running after? If the end goal is just to make money, why are all these billionaires unhappy? 7 out of 10 billionaires are divorced at least once. Why? If money was the solution, why? So people say that, okay, if I get this car, then I'll be happy. If I build this business, I'll be happy. Just think about it. Say if you already have it. Say you wanted, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Say it's already sitting there in your driveway. What does it change? Say you wanted to have a $10 million in your bank account. Say you already have it. You open your bank account this morning and you saw it and there's $10 million. What does it change? Well, people say, oh, it changed it. Tell me what? Tell me what does it change? When I get this, I'm going to be happy. No, dude, you're missing out the whole point. It's not about getting there. It's the process. The journey getting there, that's what makes the process so worthwhile.
Yep.
If building a six-pack ab is the goal, okay, so you achieve the goal, then what? You're going to just sit back home and do nothing? And after 6 months, you'll be back where you started. Right?
Exactly.
It's not about that end goal. It's the process. Love the process. The end will take care of itself. So when all these beliefs about spending and about this money, they're all rooted down. Go into these exercises, ask these powerful questions. Why is that the way I feel like this?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? If I'm making only $100,000, what is stopping me to not make that $250,000 or $500,000 or $1,000,000? What is it? You ask these powerful questions, and I can guarantee you they'll all bring you back to your childhood. Then you slowly bust those myths one by one. Okay, that was my assumption. My mom never gave me money, or my dad never gave me money, or my dad beat the crap out of me. Like whatever that's gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
your beliefs. You question that. Uh, I've seen parents who abuse their kids. When I look at those parents, and when we have the conversation, when I talk to them, and 99% of the times they had an abusive childhood. Their parents beat them or abuse them or whatnot. Now they are passing that on to their kids. Man, where
Mm-hmm.
does this cycle end? The buck has to stop with you. And the only way you can stop is by busting those limiting beliefs, by busting those myths, by busting those assumptions. Because life doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to abuse your kids.
That's a really good point, that these generational cycles repeat. It's called a cycle for a reason. And that's a really good point. It amazes me, man, that just kind of talking about this and just kind of thinking out loud, it amazes me that entrepreneurs at all have any sort of finances figured out, because by definition, these people are risk takers. These people are people who leave the safe corporate America job and go kind of do their own thing.
Yes.
And they have to use their money or an investor's money or whatever's who they have to use money to make it happen. And it's just it's fascinating to me that people with this mindset can have money figured out at all, because like I said, it's the risk taking that is involved in it. But it's also, I think a lot of people don't understand this if they are kind of playing around with the idea of entrepreneurship, if they want to start a business or they want to whatever. I don't think they understand how important it is to be able to manage and monitor and be aware of your own funds. I mean, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're your own, you're the only person who's, unless you have a team of people, unless you start out with an accountant, and most people don't, but unless you have a team of people or one person or whoever that's watching these things for you, you have to do it yourself. And I'm sure, I don't know, this is just kind of speculation, just kind of thinking out loud here. I'm sure that one of the big mistakes early entrepreneurs make is the mismanagement of the funds, is not putting the money in the right place, or spending too much money, or not. I know in my personal situation, man, it was one thing that was really big for me was how to price out the service. That's a huge thing for people, and that's a learning cycle in itself. And then you have to, there's you go through that phase where you're not making money because you don't know how to price anything, and it's just it's a mess. But yeah, that just I don't know, man. I feel like, and I guess I can say this because I'm kind of picking on myself here, but I feel like entrepreneurs would be like some of the, I don't know, I don't want to say most irritating, but it's just probably hard to coach entrepreneurs because they're the kind of people that want to do their own thing, and take their own risk or whatever. That's how I imagine on the outside looking in.
You absolutely hit the nail on the head. I always say that to, especially in our niche, financial advisors, like you have to drink your own Kool-Aid. Because as financial advisors, they advise clients to stick to the plan. And I tell them, you stick to the plan. You drink your own Kool-Aid. You stick to the plan. See, by definition, an entrepreneur, you touched a really great point in here, is something you do as an individual or an organization which is enterprising.
Mm-hmm.
And let me break that down. And it all boils down to one thing: allocator. If you wanted to be a great entrepreneur, become a great allocator.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it could be capital, whether it could be time, whether it could be resources. Become great at it. Because for a lot of, like I keep dropping all these books because there's so much wisdom in these books that I'm talking about. There's a book called E-Myth by Michael Gerber. So in that book, he talks about if you are great at a skill and you start a business with that skill, it's not necessarily makes you a great businessman or an entrepreneur. Right? Say you're a painter or you're a musician and you start a music school.
Mhm.
You're a great musician, you can teach, but you suck at business.
Right.
If you're a great musician and you automatically assume that I'm going to be a great entrepreneur, dude, those are two separate things. They're totally two separate things. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to be a master of allocation. You have to be a master allocator. See, you have this money. Where I'm going to be allocating this? Well, I have this time. You talked about what's the pricing. Like in our business, like we help advisors to price their practice, like how much their services are worth. We help them price that. So, and we touch about the same points. Your value, so you're an allocator, you have a value. How much value are you allocating in this segment of the business? Because your price is tied to your value. And advisors come back and say that, man, I'm currently charging $5,000. I think my service is worth whatever, $10,000, $15,000. Okay, great. Now let's dissect that. Let's go deeper into it and look at each single piece. What is that value that you're bringing in? You wanted to charge higher price. You wanted to command more premium prices in your service. The one and only way to do this is solve the high stakes problem. The higher the problem you solve, higher the payout is. As simple as that. We have advisors like who charge like $50,000 on a retainer, like an annual fee for their services. Why? Because they solve the highest problems. They solve the most complex problems for these wealthy families. That's the reason why they are able to charge that amount of fee for their services. If you solve a small problem where everyone else is solving, obviously you can charge them a premium because no one is willing to pay you the premium. Because people perceive the value in terms of the outcome that you provide for them.
Yep.
And for a lot of entrepreneurs, they miss that point there. They say, okay, I'm a great financial planner, or I'm a great musician, or I'm a great like whatever that is, and people should pay me. No, dude, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. It depends on the value that you provide, the outcome. Because the clients, the only thing that they care about, they don't care about your degrees. They don't care about like how many views on TikTok you have. They don't care about how many Instagram followers you have. They don't give a damn about any of this. The only thing they care about is the outcome that you can provide them. They are in a pain, they are in a problem, and can you provide the solution or not? The more clarity you can give them about their problem and the more certainty you can give them about the outcome, they'll hire you in a heartbeat. They'll hire you in a heartbeat. Right? So it boils down to that.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, man, because that's something I've said before. If you could look at whatever kind of sales thing that you're in, if you could look at it as solving a problem for the person and that person's paying you to solve a problem, because you brought up a good point. You think that you're the best in your industry, and that's good. That's a good self-belief to have if you can deliver on that. But then it's like this person who's sitting across the table from you, they have a problem and they're trying to solve this problem. And that's what like it's not about, I mean, yes, it's about making the sale, but it's about solving the problem for this person because that's what they're looking at.
Yes.
And I think I think when I started using that philosophy versus just trying to, hit milestones as far as clients or whatever, I mean, it makes a big difference, man, in the interactions that you have with people, the sales that you have with people. I think people will respect you more because I certainly respect someone more if they're trying to help me versus someone who's just trying to get a commission or whatever off of me. I mean, you can sense these things about people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of sales people, you know what the biggest problem in sales is? Like if you, man, I can't tell you how many courses I've taken, how many conferences and the programs I have taken in order to help improve my sales. 99% of the sales, this is what they teach. You have to cajole, you have to use these tactics, you have to use these techniques and all these things to kind of get the sale out of it. You know what is the number one problem with the salespeople is? Like with that they deal with? Substance abuse. You know why? Because they go against their grain and sell it. They're looking at that commission paycheck. They pressure people into buying that stuff. You talk to any high ticket or high pressure salespeople, a lot of them have some sort of a drug problem. Why? Because they are out of an alignment. Because when you give or when you sell someone something which you don't believe in, and you're just looking at that end goal, okay, I wanted to make money, that's the bottom line. And life has a way of, I think that's called karma.
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna come back to you in a way, and it's not worth it. It is absolutely not worth it. And when entrepreneurs can understand this, if they focus on helping people identifying the problem, getting clarity on the problem, and certainty on the outcome, the next natural response, the next natural human response, say you are in a car, and suddenly you see another car coming in, your natural response is to hit the brake, slam the brakes.
Yep.
In the same way, the next natural response for the person who's sitting on the other side of the table is, can you help me? That's the natural progression. When I do like the meetings, people ask me on the other side, like, how can I pay you? Like, when can we start working together? I don't even pitch them. I swear, I don't even pitch them anything. They say that, okay, what is our next steps? Like, how do we start this? We haven't even talked about the fees. Like, we haven't even talked about any of that stuff. All I did was getting them clarity that this is the problem that they have, and if they don't solve, these are the consequences, and about the outcome. If we take these measures, and this is the outcome, and the certainty about the outcome. That's all I did in that meeting. And I took probably like 40 minutes, them talking, and 10 minutes for me to getting clarity and the certainty on the outcome. That's it.
Yep.
And they give me all the data for that.
Something else too, man, that makes me, that is such a good point. Excuse me. That's such a good point, because people, I feel like people will pay more to solve a problem. Not pay more, pay quicker to solve a problem than they will pay for something that they want. Example, you see a nice pair of shoes that you want. You don't really need them. You would want them, but then you have a plumbing issue at your house. How quickly are you going to pay somebody to get that plumbing issue solved? So it's like the desire for this thing. It's like, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. But this is something that I really need. If I don't do this, like, this is a problem that needs to be solved here. And so I just feel like approaching this thing from a sales point of view, man, if we could look at it both as salespeople and as people who are buying, just the problem is the common thing here. I mean, yes, there's the money is involved, the commission is involved. These businesses need that thing to survive, but it's the problem is what I try to tell people, because it's just, I don't know how else to say it. I think we were talking earlier in the conversation about how, the people who pressure you and just can't take no for an answer. That is causing another problem. Like, even if I already have a problem to begin with, and this person is just like, they can't take the hint that I'm not interested, that's a whole nother problem, man. It's like, what I try to tell people who work, at a company or whatever, their bosses or whatever, like, people, your employer or your boss or whatever will always remember you as the person who made their life easier.
Absolutely.
If they hire you to do a thing, man, and you're the kind of person who solves issues, you're going to be remembered for that. And if it's a good company, if it's a good employer, you're going to stick around because of that. But if you're the kind of person who, if you always have a problem, if you're even part of the problem, and if you don't have a solution to that, like, you're going to be that to that employer or that leader or whoever, that's another problem to solve. I don't mean to say it that way, because that almost puts a negative connotation on it that I don't really mean. But what I'm saying is, if you are the kind of person who solves problems for people, you're gonna have opportunities, man. I mean, you're gonna be people are just gonna be chasing you down.
No, absolutely. I always tell this to entrepreneurs, like, be a fixer, be a very good fixer.
Yeah.
If you can fix things, man, you can be a damn good entrepreneur, because then clients will be chasing you, right? You won't be chasing them. They'll be chasing you because they know then you can fix the stuff, right? So some problems are going to be in the future. Some are, like you mentioned, it's current. right? It's there. And it all boils down to one thing: taking people through that process, identifying their needs. I'll just give you an example. Some time ago, we were in the market looking for a new mattress. Like, I had some back issues, so we were looking for a mattress. So we went into this store, and me and my wife, we walked in, and the guy greeted us, and he was like, "Okay, great, you're looking for a mattress. Okay, what is the range of price that you're looking at the mattress?" And we were like, "Yeah, this is the price range." And he was like, "Yeah, this is the best mattress we have. It comes with a 10-year warranty. It comes with this. It comes with all the bells and the whistles. I can throw in the free pillows in there, free pillow covers in there for you. If you buy it today, we're gonna knock off 20%. We're gonna do this." And me and my wife, we looked at each other and we said, "You know what? Let's get out of here." Dude, like, I do this for a living, right? I can sense it. And people, most of the people can sense that. I call it commission breath.
Yep.
If we are looking at selling that commission breath in our industry, like insurance people are very notorious. Like, the insurance industry is ruined because of this, because all they care about is like, if this person buys this policy, then I'm gonna get this fat paycheck. They don't care about the problem that they can solve. And contrary, just with at the same day, we walked into another store, and this gentleman walked in. He greeted us, and he was like, "Okay, what brings you to the store?" "We are in the market for a mattress." The next question was, "What's wrong with the current one?" Then I told him, "This is what it is." "So what's the issue?" He was like, "I'm having some lower back issues." And he was like, "I got a wonderful mattress which can fix your lower back pain." I didn't even have to see the mattress, man. I was sold. I'm like, "Okay, take my credit card." That's all he said. He said, "I have an exact mattress which can solve your lower back problem." He said, because I told him I have lower back. I didn't tell him I have a back problem. I told him I have a lower back pain. And he said exactly the same words. So he gave me the clarity and he gave me the certainty. And he said that we have 100-day sleep, 100-night warranty. If you don't like it, just give us a call. Our guy's going to come and pick it up. And I'm like, sold. Done. Where do I sign? That's what we miss. And this place was a much smaller place. They don't have any branches or anything. This was like a small place, but they had good mattresses. And that's what I tell people. If you are in the sales, focus on uncovering the issue. The better you get, the better clarity you can get them of the problem and what the consequences going to be if they don't fix it, and the more certainty you can provide them. Yeah, because only three things, we call it the 3 C's in sales: clarity, certainty, caring. If you can provide them with the clarity about about the problem, and if you can give them the certainty that you are the person who can help them solve the problem, and you care, you have to show them that you care about them. Even if you have these two, and if they sense that you don't care, you're just there to grab their money, then they're not going to come on board with you. So the 3 C's,
100%.
like we say that these are the cardinal 3 C's for any sales. Like, you wanted to onboard more clients, you wanted more people in your business, this is the only thing that you wanted to do. Same thing, like we have advisors like who wanted to hire new team members. Even when they do interviews, we tell them to follow the same 3 C's. Provide the candidate with the clarity, what they're going to get, what does the role look like. Give them the certainty about their future, because they wanted a future with your company, and show them that you care. If you do these 3 things, man, they'll beg you to hire them. So that's the framework that we follow. And for a lot of people in this, because the old sales tactic is very notorious, man. It's very like used car salesman technique, is a snake oil salesman technique. Those are outdated. Then when I started in the industry, they used to teach this a lot. Even now, like some of the people, they still teach it. I don't know how it works in the current the market. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Well, Rafi, listen, man, I'm sure we could keep talking. I got to wrap up here shortly, though. Where can people find you online, social media, websites, or anything?
Yeah, so they can look me up on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, wherever they are. I'm very active on LinkedIn. They can just put in Rafi Shaik; they should be able to find it. Or they can visit our website www.peacefuladvisorlifestyle.com. I'm sure you'll provide them with the links to my
Yep.
profile and to our website in your show notes, so they can file us there. One last thing before I go, I urge listeners, if they can take any one thing from this conversation, make sure that you implement it, because no amount of knowledge or information can help you unless and until you implement it. Because we
Mm-hmm.
dropped a lot of stuff in this more than an hour conversation, but just take one thing and make sure that you implement it. With this, I sign off, bro. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm going to ask you one more question, and maybe you just answered it. If you had to pinpoint one of the most important lessons you learned in your life, it can be financially related, business related, something you're comfortable sharing. What do you think will be one of the most important lessons you've ever learned?
Mindset, working on my mindset.
I love it.
Hands down, that's one single thing. Because Cody, in 7 generations in my family, no one went to university.
Hmm.
Not on my mom's side, not on my dad's side. I was the first one. And after me, I don't know how many people graduated university. And I was the one who set that path for them. And all of these things for me, I was the one who went into business. All our families are employees. They all work for, some sort of government or some sort of company, and collect their pensions and retire. And I was
Mm-hmm.
the first one who went into an actual business, an entrepreneurial business. And when I look at all these things, the one thing that helped me to take my life professionally and personally to the next level is when I worked on my mindset. When I started questioning my assumptions, when I started working on my limiting beliefs, when I started eliminating my limiting beliefs. If you can invest in yourself and work on your mindset, it's like going to the gym. It can be done in one single day. It is a work in progress. You have to do it every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
here in our business, we call it read, write, meditate. You wanted to read stuff, you wanted to write stuff, and you wanted to meditate. So if you can do these three things, so that it makes your mind more sharp and you are in that zone all the time, because life throws things at you, but the only way you can navigate your personal and professional life with ease is if you are in a right headspace, if you clear that head trash, and if you're in the right headspace. Because that's what helped me to build a 7-figure business, and I'm sure it will help you too. Thank you.
100%, man. Hey, I appreciate it. I'm gonna close the video out. Just hang out for just a second, but I do appreciate your time, man. Appreciate the insight and the wisdom, and appreciate you coming on here today.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in today. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you found it useful or beneficial, you can subscribe, follow, interact, and see more content at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google and Apple Podcasts. Again, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.